Buying a home in Calgary from Ontario or BC is completely doable, but the ones who struggle are usually the ones who assume the process works the same way here as it does back home. It doesn't. And if you don't understand the differences around financing, deposits, contracts, and possession timelines, this process can get stressful fast. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the entire process of buying a home in Calgary from out of province, step by step. What's different about Alberta, what to actually watch out for, and how to actually make it work without being physically here for every step. Let's get into it. Quick note before we start, this is exactly the process I walk my relocation clients through, and if you want somebody to guide you through it personally, my Calendly link and free home buyer guide are both in the description. Happy to make this as straightforward as possible. All right, let's go through it step by step. Before we get into the process, let me give you some context about why buying in Alberta is actually different from what you're used to in Ontario or BC. And in several ways, it's better. First, Alberta has no land transfer tax. In Ontario, you're paying a provincial land transfer tax plus a municipal tax if you're in Toronto. In BC, you're paying a property transfer tax. In Alberta, there's no land transfer tax at all. You pay registration costs instead, which are much smaller by comparison. That's a meaningful savings on a $750,000 home. Second, the legal process is different. Alberta uses a land title system where a lawyer handles the transfer of funds, registration of the title in your name, and confirmation that there's no liens or encumbrances on the property. The good news is that everything can be done digitally. For out-of-province buyers, the entire legal process can be completed remotely. You don't need to fly to Calgary to sign papers. Third, Alberta contracts work differently from Ontario or BC contracts in ways that matter. Deposit timing, condition structures, and new build agreements are all Alberta specific. This is one of the most common places where out-of-province buyers get caught off guard, and it's something I'll come back to. Here's what most out-of-province buyers don't realize about the mortgage process when they're buying in Calgary. The first thing you need is a proper pre-approval, not just a rough estimate. A real pre-approval from a lender who understands Alberta real estate. This matters more than you might think because Alberta contracts move quickly. Deposits are often due within 24 hours of an accepted offer. If you're not pre-approved when the right property comes up, you're either scrambling or you're losing it. Now, here's a specific nuance for out-of-province buyers. If you're employed and your job is transferring to Calgary or remote, you need a letter of employment from your employer confirming that arrangement. With that letter, lenders can use 100% of your income to qualify you for the Alberta purchase. Without it, qualifications become more complicated depending on your lender. If you're selling a Toronto or a Vancouver property and using that equity as your down payment, bridge financing is something you'll need to understand. Here's a scenario that comes up frequently. You find a property in Calgary with a possession date of, say, 60 days out. You put in an offer and it's accepted. Then you list your home in Ontario, but sometimes the Ontario sale closes after the Calgary possession date. In that situation, bridge financing covers the gap. It's a short-term loan that lets you complete your Calgary purchase while you're waiting for your Ontario sale to close. It's common, it's manageable, and knowing it exists means it won't catch you off guard. One more thing on financing, closing costs in Alberta are usually much lower than what you're used to in Ontario or BC, mainly because there's no land transfer tax here. But you still need to budget for legal fees, your home inspection, title insurance, moving costs, any adjustments on the statement of adjustments, and any lender-related costs. Add all that up and you have it sitting in cash ready to go because closing costs cannot be added to your mortgage. This is where most out-of-province buyers either get it right or set themselves up for problems. And I say that because I've seen both outcomes and the difference is real. Buying in Calgary remotely without somebody who genuinely knows the city puts you at a significant disadvantage. You're making a decision that's worth $700,000 to $1 million or more, and in a market you can't physically be in. The communities that look similar on paper can feel completely different in person. Builder quality varies enormously, and that's not something that you can assess from a website. Some areas have infrastructure gaps that won't show up in a listing. Contract nuances in Alberta can cost you money if you don't know what you're looking at. What you need is someone who knows Calgary specifically, not just Alberta generally. Someone who understands the relocation buyer situation, who works with out-of-province clients regularly, and someone who could advocate for you in the same way that they would if you were physically here. The right agent will conduct video walkthroughs, give you unfiltered opinions about what they see, flag things that concern them, and walk you through every step of the Alberta contract before you sign anything. Now, this is where most people actually start, but it should come after the financing, because there's no point in falling in love with a community if you don't know what you can actually buy. I've covered Calgary's top communities for professionals in the Southeast versus the Northwest comparison in detail in earlier videos on this channel, so I won't go deep into that here. What I will say for the out-of-province perspective is this: narrow your shortlist to 2 or 3 communities maximum before you start looking at specific homes. Calgary is big. Remember, it's about 35% larger in landmass than Toronto. Trying to track listings across 10 different communities from out of province is overwhelming, and that leads to bad decisions. Use the criteria that matters to you: commute, school zones, community feel, proximity to amenities, price range. Get that short list tight and then go deep on those communities. Watch drive-through videos, look at community development plans. Understand what's coming in terms of commercial development and infrastructure. The more you know about the community before you start looking at specific homes, the easier your decision is going to be. Can you buy a home in Calgary without ever physically being there? Yes, I've helped many clients do it. But here's how I think about it honestly. If you can visit Calgary before you buy, even if it's for a long weekend, do it. Drive through the communities on your short list. Walk around, sit in traffic on your prospective commute route at 8 a.m. Grab a coffee in the neighborhood. The feel of a place is something that a video can approximate, but not fully replace. And buyers who visit almost always feel more confident about their decision than the ones who don't. If a visit isn't possible, remote purchasing absolutely works with the right setup. Video walkthroughs with your agent are essential, not a pre-recorded video from the listing. A live walkthrough where your agent is on FaceTime or a video call, walking through the home in real time, opening every door, checking every detail, and giving you the unfiltered read on what they actually see. A professional home inspection with a written report and photos, and for new builds, a thorough review of the builder contract before you sign, because those contracts are long and the details matter. Here's where the Alberta process differs most significantly from what Ontario and BC buyers are used to, and it's important. Deposits in Alberta are typically due very quickly after an accepted offer, often within 24 to 48 hours. In Ontario, you might be used to a deposit that's due in a few days or at a specific milestone. In Alberta, you need your deposit funds accessible and ready to move fast. This is not the time to be waiting for a bank transfer to clear. Conditions work well in Alberta for the buyers who know how to use them properly. A financing condition gives you time to get your formal mortgage approval. A home inspection condition gives you time to have the property inspected and to address any concerns that may come up. These conditions protect you, but they need to be written correctly, and you need to understand exactly how they function under an Alberta contract, which is different from what you may be used to. For new builds, the contract differences are even more significant. Builder contracts in Calgary are Alberta-specific documents that are typically much longer and more complex than a standard resale contract. They include clauses around price adjustments, upgrade payments, completion timelines, and what happens if the build is delayed. I cannot stress this enough. Do not sign a new build contract in Calgary without having someone who knows these documents walk you through every clause first. The stakes are too high to go in blind. The legal process in Alberta is handled by a real estate lawyer, and for out-of-province buyers, the entire process can be done remotely. Document signing, fund transfers, title registration, all of it can be done digitally. You don't need to be in Calgary to close your purchase. What you do need is an Alberta licensed real estate lawyer. This is important. Your Ontario or your BC lawyer cannot do the conveyancing for an Alberta property. They're not licensed to practice real estate law in Alberta. Your agent can refer you to a trusted Calgary real estate lawyer, or you could find one independently. Possession day is the day you get your keys. If you've purchased a resale home, your agent or a trusted contact can do a possession walkthrough on your behalf if you're not in Calgary yet. For new builds, your builder will have a walkthrough process to document any deficiencies before you take your possession. That documentation is important for your warranty purposes, so make sure it's done thoroughly. That's the full process for buying a home in Calgary from out of province. Every step of it is manageable when you know what to expect and you have the right people working around you. If you want to go through this with someone who does it every week, book a free call through the Calendly link in the description. We'll map out your specific situation, your timeline, and exactly what the process looks like for you. The home buyer guide in the description is a great starting point too. And if you haven't watched my video on the biggest mistakes people make when moving to Calgary, that's the one I'd watch next. A lot of what I cover there applies directly to the out of province buying process, so I'll link it right here. I'll see you in the next one.